You are in the semifinals of the Wanda Pharmaceuticals Berlin Tennis Open. How does that sound?
That sounds amazing, and I can't believe it. I'm in shock right now, so thank you, everybody.
Somewhere in Berlin right now, a scoreboard is being reset to 0, and nobody in that stadium has any idea they're about to watch the most dangerous match of the entire tournament. Not the biggest name, not the highest seed, the most dangerous. Because in 12 hours, Alex walks onto center court carrying something most players her age have never had to carry, a winning record against the woman across the net. One match, one set apiece, buried in their past, back when the stakes were smaller and nobody was filming it for a final. Here's what makes this particular semifinal different from every other one being played this week. Somewhere on the other side of this result sits a Berlin final, the kind of title that doesn't just look good on a resume, it changes how a player is scheduled, seeded, and respected for the rest of the year. For Noskova, that final means confirming what the rankings already suggest, that she belongs with the very best players left on tour. For Alex, it means something else entirely. It means a 12-week story stops being a feel-good headline and becomes something the entire sport has to take seriously, starting today. Today, the stakes aren't smaller. Today, there's a final waiting on the other side of this. Here's what should terrify everyone watching from the locker room. This is the rubber match. The decider. The one neither player can point to and say, I already know how this ends, because the scoreboard between them is dead even, and even scoreboards have a way of making players nervous in ways blowouts never do. 3 days ago, Alex beat Elena Rybakina. 3 days after that, she beat Alina Svitolina. 2 different styles, 2 different kinds of danger, and Alex solved both of them on the same patch of grass, in the same week, without blinking. Nobody walks through that kind of week by accident. And across the net, Linda Noskova just finished dismantling Paula Badosa in straight sets, the kind of scoreline that doesn't read like a win, it reads like a warning. 6-1, 6-3. 11 games lost across 2 entire rounds before that. Noskova isn't just winning in Berlin. She's barely letting anyone stay on court long enough to feel like they competed. 2 storms. 1 stadium. Only one walks out with a final to play. Let's go back 6 years, because the story doesn't start in Berlin. It starts on a junior court most people have completely forgotten about. Paris, 2020. 2 teenagers nobody outside the sport had heard of yet. Alex went down a set. Then she didn't just survive. She rebuilt the entire match brick by brick and walked off a winner. That memory doesn't matter to a scoreboard, but it matters to a mind. Because 6 years later, when these 2 finally crossed paths again as professionals, the result flipped completely. Indian Wells. A brutal, lopsided afternoon that ended 6-2, 6-0 in Noskova's favor. The kind of scoreline that doesn't just cost a match, it plants a question. A quiet one. The kind that doesn't go away just because you tell yourself it will. So which version shows up today? The teenager who came back from a set down? Or the player who got steamrolled the only time it counted as a professional? Nobody knows. That's exactly why this match exists the way it does. Here's the part of Alex's story that doesn't show up in a highlight reel. 12 weeks ago, she wasn't a name being whispered about in commentary booths. She was a result scouts half noticed and moved past. Then something shifted, not all at once, not with one signature win, but match after match, round after round, a quiet accumulation of proof that refused to stop. Grass is supposed to punish that kind of rise. It's the fastest surface tennis has, low bounce, short rallies, almost no room to think your way out of trouble. It's a surface built to expose anyone who hasn't already figured out who they are under pressure. Instead, the faster the court plays, the steadier Alex looks. That single detail should worry Noskova's side of the locker room more than any stat sheet will. Because here's what Noskova brings to center court. A serve built less for highlight aces and more as a setup weapon. Wide, into the body, anywhere that forces a short, defensive reply she can step in and finish. It's not really a serve. It's the first half of a kill shot. Against most of the players left in this tournament, that's enough to end the point before it even becomes a rally. What happens if it isn't enough today? Because quietly, without a single viral clip attached to it, Alex has spent this entire grass swing turning exactly that kind of short reply into something playable. Not spectacular, just deep enough. Just enough to take away the easy second ball Noskova has built an entire career around collecting. Take that away from her, and what's actually left? A rally. And a rally is not where Noskova wants to spend her afternoon. Not against someone who, by her own admission, has spent years specifically training herself to handle exactly this kind of pressure. One extra shot doesn't sound like much when you say it out loud. But ask any power player what happens the instant a point that should already be over refuses to end. The grip tightens by a fraction. The next swing arrives a split second early, too early to control, too late to stop. Nobody watching at home sees it. Every player on that court feels it in their chest. That's where cracks begin. And once a crowd in Berlin senses one, it doesn't stay small for long. Now picture the changeover. The towel. The 90 seconds of silence between a brutal exchange and the next first serve. Noskova resets fast. It's one of the most dangerous, least talked about parts of her game. A disastrous game doesn't follow her into the next one. She's 21 years old playing with a calm that usually takes a decade to build. Alex's relationship with that same 90 seconds, at this exact level, in front of a crowd this loud? Mostly undocumented. Which means today isn't only a tennis match. It's data, live, real-time data, on who Alex actually becomes once the lights get this bright and the only way out is through. What if the answer is the same player who beat Rybakina without flinching? What if it isn't? There's something almost cruel about a head-to-head record that's perfectly even. A 2-0 series tells both players exactly what to expect. A 1-1 series tells them nothing, except that the other person in the locker room has already beaten them once, and already lost to them once, and has spent every day since wondering which version shows up next. Noskova knows what a blowout against Alex looks like from the winning side. She's lived it. 6-2, 6-0 isn't just a scoreline, it's a memory she gets to draw confidence from every time she walks onto a court against this opponent. But Alex knows something too. She knows what it feels like to come back from a set down against this exact player and still find a way to win. That memory is older. It's from a different stage, a different age bracket, a different version of both of them. But memories like that don't fully disappear. They sit somewhere quiet, waiting for a moment just like this one to matter again. So whose memory wins the rematch? The recent one, sharp and brutal and fresh? Or the older one, buried but never erased, from the one time Alex already proved she could do this? Let's talk about what actually happens to a body on a tennis court when a crowd decides to pick a side. Berlin's crowd has spent 2 weeks watching an unseeded run turn into something that looks, suspiciously, like destiny. They've watched Alex take down Rybakina. They've watched her take down Svitolina. A crowd doesn't forget that kind of week, and crowds in semifinals are rarely neutral. That noise can lift a player 3 feet off the ground on a big point. It can also, just as easily, turn into pressure heavy enough to bury her. Noskova has played in front of hostile crowds before and walked out unaffected, mechanical, almost immune to the noise. That immunity isn't an accident. It's a weapon most people don't count until it's too late to matter. So here's the first real fork in the road. Does the crowd's energy become fuel for Alex? Or does it become one more thing she has to fight through on top of everything else? Nobody outside that stadium gets to know the answer in advance. Now picture the tactical chessboard underneath all of this. Noskova's game plan, almost certainly, will be simple on paper and brutal in execution. Serve big, end points early, never let a rally stretch long enough for Alex to find her rhythm. Short points favor power. Long points favor whoever defends better, and this week, nobody's defended better on grass than Alex has. Which means Noskova's entire strategy is a race against time inside every single point. Win it fast or risk losing it slow. What if the first set turns into exactly that? A set where Noskova racks up free points early, builds a cushion, and looks every bit like the favorite she's supposed to be. A one-set deficit against this version of Noskova would test anyone. It would test composure. It would test whether 12 weeks of belief can survive its first real gut punch on the biggest stage Alex has stood on yet. Now flip it. What if Alex's return game, the same one that frustrated Rybakina's power and picked apart Svitolina's variety, starts doing the exact same thing to Noskova's first serve. What if breakpoints start appearing in the third or fourth game? Points Noskova has rarely had to face this entire tournament. That's not a small shift. That's the kind of moment that can rewrite an entire match in real time, live, while it's happening. There's a piece of this match that has nothing to do with shot making and everything to do with mileage. By the time Alex steps onto center court today, she will have already played and won 2 grueling matches this week against 2 of the most dangerous ball strikers left in the draw. That's not a free pass to a semifinal. That's 2 wars, back to back, with barely enough time between them to let the legs recover. Noskova's path looked different. Fewer long battles. Fewer 3-set survival acts. A cleaner, faster route through the draw that left her fresher, sharper, with more in the tank for exactly this kind of afternoon. So here's a question nobody can answer until the 3rd set, if it gets there. Does fatigue catch up with momentum? Or does momentum simply override fatigue, the way it sometimes does for players riding a wave nobody expected them to catch in the first place? There's also the matter of what grass does to a match plan as a tournament wears on. Early in a grass swing, the courts play fast and true. By the semifinal stage, with a full week of matches grinding into the same patches of turf, the bounce gets lower, the footing gets less predictable, and small technical flaws that used to be hidden suddenly aren't. That favors whoever reads a court better under stress, not whoever hits the ball harder. It's a small, almost invisible variable. It could end up deciding everything. Now consider the bigger picture sitting on top of all of this. What's actually at stake beyond the immediate trophy? A win today doesn't just send one of these 2 into a final. It rewrites how the entire tour is forced to think about her for the rest of the season. Seeds get adjusted. Scouting reports get rewritten overnight. The player who walks off center court victorious today stops being a story people are still trying to figure out and starts being a problem every future opponent has to prepare for specifically. That's a heavier kind of pressure than most semifinals carry. This isn't just about today. It's about which version of each player gets locked in, permanently, in the minds of everyone left in this sport. Push the picture further. Imagine this thing goes the distance. A 3rd set, the sun dropping low over center court, both players visibly running on fumes by the final changeover. Noskova has the recent form, the bigger weapons, the bigger reputation. Alex has the week nobody predicted and a body that hasn't shown a single crack yet. In that kind of moment, rankings stop mattering. Reputation stops mattering. What's left is whoever's nervous system holds together 1 beat longer than the others. Now picture a tiebreak. 7 points, maybe more, to decide which one of these stories gets a final chapter and which one gets a flight home tonight. In a tiebreak, Noskova's serve becomes even more lethal. Less time to think, less room for error, exactly the conditions her game was built for. But Alex has already proven, against 2 players ranked well above her, that she doesn't panic when the margins shrink to almost nothing. Does composure beat firepower when there's no more room left to hide? Or does firepower simply run out the clock before composure gets the chance to matter? Here's a scenario nobody's talking about yet. What if neither player blinks first? What if this turns into the kind of long, grinding semifinal where every single game gets fought to deuce? Where both players keep finding one more answer right when it looks like they're finally out of them? Those are the matches that don't just decide a final. They define a season, sometimes a career. And here's the cruelest part of a match built like this one. There is no safe lead. Not against this version of Noskova, who's capable of erasing a deficit in 4 explosive games. Not against this version of Alex, who has already shown an entire tournament that she does not know how to fold once a crowd gets loud. Which means whoever's ahead at 5-all in any set today should not, for 1 second, feel safe. Think about that exact scoreline. 5 games all, serving to stay in a set that might decide the entire match. 40 years of tennis instinct says experience wins that game. Noskova has been here more times. She's closed doors like this one before, calmly, almost without ceremony. But 12 weeks of evidence says something else entirely, that Alex has built her entire run on doing precisely what experience says shouldn't be possible. Beating bigger names. surviving bigger stages, refusing, point after point, to let a match get taken from her without a fight first. So which version of experience wins out today? The kind measured in years on tour, or the kind measured in 12 straight weeks of proving doubters wrong? There is no clean answer sitting in a stat sheet for that question. Stat sheets explain what already happened. They don't explain what's about to. What we do know is this. One of these two players leaves Berlin today with a place in the final and a story that gets bigger overnight. The other leaves with a long flight home and a loss that will sit with her for exactly as long as she lets it. Noskova will tell herself the bigger weapons, the calmer nerves, and the recent scoreline all point one direction. Alex will tell herself that 12 weeks of proof doesn't just evaporate because the stage got bigger, that every win up to now was building toward a day exactly like this one. They can't both be right. In about 90 minutes, only one of them still will be. And until the very last point lands, on that very last shot, with everything either player has built sitting on a single swing, nobody outside that stadium gets to know which story this turns out to be.